recently hit the age where they can appreciate fireworks. Up until now, the loud noises only scared them and made them cry. But this year, it was a major fear they wanted to conquer, sort of like a big roller coaster. Of course, for our kids' first clear memories of fireworks, it was better for them to experience something a bit more organized and more artfully inspired than a bunch of drunk aunts and uncles launching mortars at each other at a family gathering. With that in mind, we took a trip to the beach. The town there puts on a yearly fireworks show at sundown. The show was a little disappointing for us adults, but more than enough bright colors and explosions for the kids. Unfortunately, the difficult part of the night came on the walk back to the car. Somewhere along the way, I must have stopped paying attention to the streets and slipped into a sketchy area. We kept hearing and seeing smaller fireworks going off all around us. Just regular people shooting off whatever they had like anywhere else in the country does when the big show is done. Eventually, I heard an entirely different sound cut through the air, right to us. Somebody was shouting, trying to get our attention. I couldn't tell why at first, but once I laid eyes on the guy who was shouting at us, it became clear. On the other side of the street, a pale white dude with a shaved head was saying something obscene. My daughter saw him and said he was waving at us, but I didn't know how to explain to her that the way his arm was stuck straight out, that it was really a salute we did not want to see. Crowded behind him on the lawn were 5 or 6 other men, also with shaved heads and wearing some kind of makeshift uniform, covered in vulgar patches with weapons holstered all over them. I'd seen their kind of outfit before, but never this close, and never with their attention focused entirely on me. I told my family to look away and pick up the pace, trying to hide the terror in my voice. Our kids were confused, but my wife was already picking up our son, and I was getting ready to grab my daughter if I had to. Unsatisfied with us, the leader shouted at us to come back, and when we didn't, him and his followers crossed the street and started to quickly close the gap. I knew then that we weren't getting out of this unscathed. Soon, the men crossed in front of us and forced us to stop. We were surrounded. If there was any tiny chance of escaping without a fight, this was my last opportunity to make it happen. Is there a problem, sir?
Don't you idiots know it's not safe to be here after sundown?
No, I was not aware, but we were already leaving.
You come around here from that cesspool you call a city and muck up our town, trying to multiply and mooch off us.
Sir, I promise we will leave your town and immediately go home, as long as you let us go.
Is that right? Well, allow us to make sure you run plenty far enough, huh?
Without explaining what he meant, the man stepped aside, clearing the path, but at the same time, the men surrounding us didn't budge. They did the opposite, clenching us in, forcing us to go out the opening. It was the direction we were headed from the start, but suddenly, especially with the smirk on that man's face as he waved us on, going that way didn't seem like something we wanted to do. On the other hand, we didn't have a choice. I led us forward, carefully guarding my daughter. My wife followed with our son in her arms. We made it out of the circle, away from the gang about 20 feet, when all of a sudden, I heard something. Who would be lighting fireworks right now? Then it hit me. They were pointed at us. I shouted at my family to run, but before we could move, there was an explosion. It blinded us, deafened us. All I saw was a bright light, then nothing. Just raging in my ears. I could still feel my daughter's hand flash barely. I picked her up, hoping my wife would do the same as I did. Then I kept running blindly. I couldn't even see the ground at my feet, but I knew I couldn't stay still. Those men shot a goddamn bomb at us. I didn't want to find out what else they would do while we reeled from the shockwave. After what felt like an eternity, I slowly regained my hearing and vision, but nothing was quite the same. My wife was nowhere to be seen. I feared the worst. My stomach dropped and twisted, but I pushed the thought out of my head. I had to stay focused and get help. No longer knew where I was, but I had my phone. I could still call the police. Thankfully, within an hour, my family was reunited. My wife and son hadn't been captured. The men who assaulted us and shot fireworks at us were arrested or released the same day. It gave us just enough time to leave without being followed. Those men are still free, and I don't doubt they will take pleasure in traumatizing another innocent black family the next chance they get. Several men were arrested after police say they taunted a family by yelling racial slurs and using racial salutes during a 4th of July incident in an Oregon beach town. The men challenged
You're a cold-blooded.
The police to a fight when the officers arrived and set off fireworks that were banned. They were arrested on suspicion of charges including riot, disorderly conduct, interfering with police, and possession of illegal fireworks. The men arrested were Gennady Kachnikov, Anatoly Kachnikov, Audrey Kastev, Oleg Sarenchuk, Ruslan Takachnikov, and Yuri Kachenkov. A seventh man refused to identify himself, police said. They were cited and arrested.
I'm about to beat my old dude up.
What is Bellevue all about? Well, it's whatever you think you know. In fact, it's unlike anywhere around here. This is Bellevue, Washington. Unexpected.
I got you beating me up. My old dude's right in front of me laughing at me.
Life in the desert is full of big questions. Like, can I lower my electric bill? Absolutely. A great place to start is your price plan. Take a look at our options. Make sure you're on one that works best for you. We also have programs to help you use less energy, save money. Plus, as a not-for-profit, SRP's rates are already some of the lowest in the Southwest. Nice to know there are options. SRP, delivering water, power, and answers since 1903.
I'm about to beat my old dude up. So I got the handcuffs.
Last Independence Day, the whole family came to my house. The 4th was a Friday, so quite a few of them, specifically the older relatives, were staying the night. Admittedly, I was a little overwhelmed by hosting such a large number of people. I wanted my daughter to get out and catch up with her family, but she was too old to have fun with her little cousins, and still too young to hang out with grown-ups, so I could tell she was feeling a bit like an outcast. However, I had a trick up my sleeve. Something to be the defining factor of the night. My trick, of course, was the illegal fireworks. I crossed state lines and blew a downright stupid amount of money to get an insane array of the biggest, craziest fireworks I could possibly get my hands on in the days leading up to the 4th. I did some research on the best way to line up multiple rockets for an impressive extended volley that would last at least a whole minute. Unfortunately, I didn't have quite the audience I wanted. By the time it got dark, the old folks had gone to bed. Even my daughter was fed up with the evening. She had been hiding out in her bedroom for a couple hours already. Despite all the setbacks, I got to work. With everyone watching, I lit the master fuse, then took some big steps back. A few seconds later, the first rocket went off perfectly. Everyone cheered. This was all going to go just right. Then, the fountain started. They were meant to work together with the next few mortars as a build-up to the first big one, but something unexpected happened. Among the cascade of blinding, colorful lights flying off in every direction from the base of the display, some sparks ended up spraying straight down to the ground, right under the rest of the fuses. I watched, unable to force myself to rush through the barrage of fireworks to stamp out the errant fuses, as several lit up out of order. They snaked across the ground, camouflaged by the fountains, with everyone waiting for the next explosion in the sky. Nobody but me knew what was coming. Suddenly, multiple rockets shot into the sky at once. I braced for impact right as the explosions went off, just milliseconds apart. The sound was deafening, and the shockwave sent more sparks flying across the ground and into the crowd, setting off a chain reaction. Every single rocket, big, small, and nuclear, blew up in our faces within the span of just 15 seconds. It was supposed to go on for several minutes, but the malfunction sped it all up in a fraction of that time. My ears were ringing. There were streaks of blindness in my vision. The smoke was almost suffocating. I expected to be berated and humiliated as soon as the dust cleared. But then I heard applause, cheering. People rushed to me with smiles on their faces, exulting for the best fireworks show they'd ever experienced in their lives. They loved me.
Dude, that was awesome! How did you do that? What did you say?
I'm sure they would have been impressed had things gone to plan, but the mishap turned out to be a happy accident. From what I could hear, everyone seemed to think that's what I meant to do from the start. How else could I react but to play like that was the truth? After struggling all day to make everyone happy, I finally succeeded. The first thing we all noticed was a shift in the smell of the smoke.
It went from the sulfuric stench of gunpowder to a toxic mixture of wood, plastic, and chemicals. Then, I finally saw the black smoke emanating from the house. The fireworks had set the house on fire. Immediately, my pride turned into a mountain of guilt. I had to do something. That was my house, my family. I rushed into the garage and burst through the back door. The smoke had already filled the hall, but I could still get through. I heard cries for help as the sound of cracking began to multiply in every wall around me. I called out to them and chased down their voices, finding the first people in the bathroom, guiding them out the way I came. I couldn't even recognize them, and I didn't know who else was still inside, but I knew the house was still occupied. I went back in, determined to save each and every person I put in harm's way, but the smoke was too thick. It forced me out. I just couldn't breathe anymore. I turned around while I still had the chance, still knowing there were people inside. By the time the firefighters came just a few minutes later, the house had transformed from a chimney to an inferno. The creeping fire finally emerged from a shroud of smoke and engulfed the entire house. The heat was too intense to even be near it. Hours later, when the fire was finally put out, they began to search the wreckage. The bodies of several of my family members were found, charred nearly beyond recognition. Most of them were older folks who had gone to bed around 8 p.m., but among them was my only daughter. Every 4th of July, for the rest of my miserable life, I'll remember how my carelessness cut my daughter's life far too short. A 13-year-old girl was one of 2 people killed when July 4th fireworks sparked a huge blaze in her Midwest home just 2 weeks after she beat cancer. Jerry Lynn Brown had just rung the bell as she finally left the hospital late last month after a 2-year battle with osteosarcoma, a form of bone cancer. She died on the 4th of July when smoldering debris from fireworks the night before ignited at the back of her family's home in Independence, Missouri, engulfing it in flames around 5:30 a.m. The second person, 52-year-old Mark Anthony Young Sr., died Sunday after fighting for his life for almost 3 days from injuries in the fire. Jerry Lynn's mom, Liz Stevens, remains in the hospital, fighting for her life after being severely burned.
Why shop at Spencer's? Well, if you live here or have a home here and you don't already know, it's because we do things a little differently. We're employee-owned, which means the people helping you actually care about getting it right. We've got 11 locations across the valley and over 320,000 square feet of appliances in stock and ready to go. So whether you need it today or tomorrow, we've got you covered. Our prices are at or below the market every single day. No games, no guessing. And instead of big box service, you get real people who know what they're talking about. So yeah, shop local, get more, and actually enjoy the process. Because at Spencer's, it's like having a friend in the business.
He was trying to beat me up.
Have you ever thought about owning land? Land Central has made buying land online affordable, easy, and secure since 1997. So whether you were looking to buy land for an investment, recreation, or to build a dream home on, you can do it all at landcentral.com.
It was the middle of summer break. School was out, and I didn't have any worries or responsibilities other than a few chores here and there. It was the year of 2012. Life was good. After spending the whole day hanging out with my friend, I went home for the evening. My whole family was there. My sisters, brothers, my mom and their best friends. A full house. Plenty of pizza and soda to go around for all the kids. And I can't forget the best part. It was the one day of the year we got to mess around with fireworks. As it got late, everybody was still hanging out, either watching TV in the living room or standing around in the kitchen. Another hour or so and all the kids probably would have gone to bed. But at that moment, even my youngest sibling, my little brother, was still staying up past his bedtime. Then, someone knocked on the door. I didn't think it was weird, but as my mom walked over to answer it, I remember her saying something about how we weren't expecting any more guests. My mother opened the door, then began to say something. Whatever she meant to cut short after just a few syllables. She went silent like somebody had put a hand over her mouth. I heard what sounded like a stampede of people barging into the house, and when I finally looked over, I saw 3 masked men charging at us. The next moments were sheer chaos. Everyone was screaming. The men pulled out guns and pointed them at our heads, rounding us up, separating the kids from adults. My mom and her friends were taken away, dragged into the kitchen as they screamed and begged for it to stop. Before I could comprehend what was happening, the 3rd masked man ripped me off the couch. He waved a gun around at me and my siblings, ordering us all to get in one group by the TV. I was the oldest, but I didn't have the nerve to act brave or tough in front of anyone. Only one of the men was watching us, but because of that gun in his hand, we all did what he said without hesitation. Around the corner, the other 2 gunmen had forced the adults of the house, my mother and her 2 friends, into the kitchen. I could hear them fighting over something. Where's the money? Give it up before I blow her brains out.
No, please don't. We don't have any money, I swear to God.
Don't lie to me. I know it's here. Where are you hiding it?
There's no money. You've got to believe me.
You want to watch your friend die? You want to be next?
No.
We couldn't take it. It was too much. We were all fighting to keep it together, but for my little brother, it was too much. At the height of everything, he burst into tears. He couldn't stop. He was screaming and wailing, trying to hold it in. Within seconds, the thug that was watching us descended upon my brother, started screaming in his face, pointing the barrel of the gun right against my little brother's eye socket, threatening to pull the trigger if he didn't shut up. My other sibling shrunk and began to cry as well. It was a domino effect of the worst kind. The men in the kitchen were shouting at their accomplice to handle his end of things, to handle us, but he was struggling. He was a criminal, not a father or a babysitter. Just then, I realized he wasn't even looking at me. Before, I didn't have the slightest bit of willpower to do anything but obey. I had been too scared to do anything risky, hoping and praying that this would somehow just end. But at that moment, I knew I had to do something. My heart started pounding in my chest. My entire body felt like it was going to float away with all the adrenaline in my blood. I moved slowly at first, getting to my feet and inching my way out of the gunman's peripheral. My siblings' eyes were on me, as well as all their hopes for survival. Back on my feet, I took one look back at them, then I ran. I sprinted. My feet barely touched the ground. I flew through the house like a silent gust of wind, then blew out the back door and I was free. I kept running, knowing I'd start to hear the men shouting and chasing after me, or worse, gunshots. But I made it all the way to the old snow cone stand on the corner and didn't hear a thing. There, I finally stopped to breathe, to think. I had a cell phone in my pocket. I'd only had it for a few months, since my 13th birthday party. It was about to save my entire family's lives. I picked up the phone, dialed 911, and just a few minutes later, I heard the sirens racing. They got to my house, put the gunmen in their place, and rescued my family. Afterwards, the news, as well as seemingly everyone in town, hailed me as some kind of hero. I didn't feel that way at all. A hero puts a stop to evil things. I just ran away and called for help, letting someone else handle it. Still, I know if things had gone down any differently, there's a good chance I'd be dead along with my entire family. I never forget that. That's all I think about on the 4th of July. I don't remember being a hero. I just remember the nightmare. A 13-year-old boy is being called a hero after saving his family from a violent home invasion on the 4th of July. The teen, along with his 3-year-old cousin, his mother, and 3 other women were inside a home when 3 armed men broke in. They said they wanted the money, and I'm thinking, what money? I don't have any money, said the teen's mother, who did not want to be identified. Police say the woman's 13-year-old son sprang into action. He ran down the stairs and out of a back door, and went to a nearby water ice stand parking lot to call police, using a cell phone he borrowed from a stranger. Having no idea if her son was okay, the woman says she prayed for help. Seconds later, police kicked in the front door. If not for my son, we probably would not be alive. I don't think they had any intention of letting us live, said the woman. Police say the alleged gunmen didn't put up much of a fight and were quickly arrested. The suspects were Dominique Avery, Daryl Sanders, and Gerald Whitaker. As for the woman involved in the terrifying ordeal, she's thankful to be alive and proud of her son.